everyone. Thank you for joining us on this edition of The Inside. I am Babla Jonathan. Former South African President Thabo Mbeki speaks about the almost a decade-long conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. In a recent interview, he said that President Paul Biya has not been keen to a mediation proposal from the Forum of Former African Heads of State in view of helping to solve the conflict in the predominantly English-speaking regions of the country. Once more, pointing to the idea of lack of political will or unwillingness to solve the crisis, an idea rejected by the government of the Republic of Cameroon, which says it is doing everything possible to put an end to the conflict in the two regions and restore peace and normalcy. We are looking at these issues and we continue analyzing the state of the nation and the political temperature in Cameroon months to the forthcoming presidential election. Meet our first guest in some few seconds. Our first guest today is MOSOKE Lucas LYONGA, civil society leader and entrepreneur, general coordinator and chairman, Excellence Union Network for Africa's Development. He calls himself modern nation builder, and he joins us from the Southwest Regional Capital, Buea. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm once more happy to be at Equinoxe. As usual, I love to be at Equinoxe because they have actually been doing a great job in Cameroon and the entire globe at large. So I'm once more happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You are in Buea in the Southwest region. What is the situation there?
Of recent, we had a couple of incidences in the Southwest region as a whole. And I wish to say that conflicts don't just resolve themselves. Conflicts are resolved by human beings, because it's human beings that are at the heart and the center of conflicts. Yeah, you know, there are so many people talking and saying that things have become normal. It's not true. Things don't become normal because you use your eyes to judge. You look at the situation and the evolution of the issues. Strategies change with time. Conflict. A conflict always starts very hot, very strong, and so on. And the core message is passed on. When the core message is passed on, those involved in the conflict, they change their strategy. So when you look at the Southwest today, you realize that the fighters, the freedom fighters, have changed their strategies. They are now using the silent method, whereby they stay and they cause havoc left and right, then they go back in their hidings and so on. So the conflict is still there. The effects of the conflict is still there. Many schools in the Southwest region have not resumed. Many schools in many areas in the Southwest regions have not resumed. There are many workplaces where people still don't go to work because the conflict is still there. There might be signals as though the conflict has died down. No, a conflict does not die down on its own. A conflict comes to an end when the dialogue table has been brought to play and the parties concerned in the conflict sit down, talk things out. And that is when an agreement is reached upon. Then the message goes out. That is what now will bring the end of a conflict, or that is the start to the end of a conflict. But in the Southwest region, the conflict is still there. In all the areas, the conflict is still there. You bear with me that the ghost towns are still there every Monday. The ghost towns are there. And when there are issues coming up, the separatists declare lockdowns and the rest, and the lockdowns are respected by the population. So it's still there, the conflict is there. People still have the fear. People still know that these boys or these freedom fighters are still very active. And they have been showing their signs. Of recent year, we heard of the cars that were bombed and military people destroyed left and right and so on. In the Southwest, in Muyuka subdivision. So I think that this issue should not be taken lightly, because a conflict does not end on its own. I wish to repeat, for a conflict to end, the parties concerned must sit on the table, because people have different strategies, and as time is passing, the separatists are changing their strategy. They are coming up with new strategies every day. So I just wish to say that from a strong perspective and from a strong recommendation perspective, the conflict is still very, very strong and at the heart of the southwest and even the northwest region that we know. Let us not deceive ourselves that this conflict has come to an end or things have normalized. No, there is no normalization in the midst of a conflict. There is normalization when dialogue has taken place. So I just wish to say that let us not be deceived. The conflict is still very strong and it's still there, both in the northwest and in the southwest.
Are people still living in fear and uncertainty?
The people are living in fear and uncertainty, and time and again you hear shootings left and right, time and again you hear killings left and right, time and again there is ghost town, lockdown and so on, declared by the same separatists, declared by the same freedom fighters. I prefer to call them freedom fighters. I don't love to call them separatists because they are not separatists, they are freedom fighters. There is nothing from which they are fighting to separate from. Yes, so they are freedom fighters. Let me clarify that point. They are not separatists. People call them separatists, but it's wrong. The real name is freedom fighters. They are fighting for the freedom of former British Southern Cameroon, as they claim.
But the name secessionists or separatists came from cessation or separation, and they are fighting to separate northwest and southwest regions, former British Southern Cameroon, from the rest of the country. So why freedom fighters and not cessationists or separatists?
From history, the former British Southern Cameroon is not yet joined to La République du Cameroon, as it was being called. There is no treaty bringing these two parties together. They are together from a notional perspective, because two entities come together to join, to work together, and to move ahead as a state. When there is a treaty, there must be a treaty by law, by international law. There must be a treaty. There is no treaty yet. So what took place is a testing, and the testing failed because the two parties have no treaty. Not even the United Nations has a treaty that shows that these two parties are together. So this togetherness is still a notional togetherness. Time would have helped the two parties now to go into a treaty. But you see now, because of the failure of the government in place to make sure that the grounds are prepared so that a treaty be signed. So that is the reason why the freedom fighters have a strong ground, because they have looked at it. Where is the treaty that brought us together? And our own side is marginalized, is poorly treated, and so on. It's taken as a secondary side, and everything is relegated. So that's why they say from history, there is no proof that these two entities are joined together.
What about the federal constitution? It is, of course, not a treaty, but it's a legal instrument that brought together the former East and West Cameroons.
Yes, the federal constitution that brought them together is a guide on how they should work, how they should live. It's not a treaty. A constitution is not a treaty. A constitution is a legal document that is used to govern, that is used to run the affairs of a state. It's different from a treaty of bringing two entities together. And the federal constitution itself, that we are talking about, federal constitution itself, the federal constitution had a problem because it was a complete work from La République du Cameroun by former President Ahidjo. It was not a work that was done by the former British Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroun. No, this constitution, even though we call it a federal constitution, it also had a lot of problems because it's a constitution that was worked completely and entirely by La République du Cameroun and brought to the table, which was finally adopted, yes, but it had its problem. But nevertheless, if that constitution was followed the way it is, and the federal system followed the way the constitution spelled it out, it would have still been better, because at least it made it clear that the federal system, the federal state should not be tampered with. But the federal nature of the constitution was tampered with, and that is the root cause of all what is happening today.
In a recent interview, former South African President Thabo Mbeki said that President Paul Biya has not been keen to a mediation proposal from the Forum of Former African Heads of State in view of helping to solve the problem. What's your understanding of this?
The federal constitution that brought them together is a guide on how they should work, how they should live together. It's not a treaty. A constitution is not a treaty. A constitution is a legal document that is used to govern, that is used to run the affairs of a state. It's different from a treaty. Former African heads of state don't have what it takes to bring this particular conflict to an end. How many conflicts have they even been able to resolve in Africa? There are many conflicts going on in African countries. Have they solved one? Have they even resolved one? Then this one, which is more complicated, more complex, with a lot of hooverings. So there's no way. So talking on social media, talking on the media is not what solves a conflict. So the forum of the African head of state trying to talk and the rest, they don't have what it takes. They are just trying to say they are also that tomorrow they will say that they too tried. Do they have what it takes? They don't have it. They don't have what it takes to bring a conflict that has interests of France, Britain, and the United Nations. They don't have it. They don't have what it takes.
Why do you think that the United Nations organization, France and the United Kingdom do not want the crisis to end? And at what level are they hindering President Paul Biya or the government of Cameroon from solving the problem?
The idea of the freedom fighters who prefer a separate former British Southern Cameroon, and they have a name that they are calling it the Ambazonians, according to how they call it. They want to create an Ambazonian state, which is different from La République du Cameroon, according to what they say online. So the desires of the freedom fighters place and hampers on the interest of France and former Britain, or let me call it the UK. The interest of the UK and Britain in former British Southern Cameroon is at stake. So the option that is being presented by the freedom fighters does not favor France nor Britain. So if the willingness of the President of the Republic to bring this conflict to an end, which might lead to a separate Ambazonian state, for example, if it happens that is what is finally going to happen, then the interest of France and Britain is gone. And they too are looking at the fact that their interest will be lost. So they will not prefer that option. They will want a balancing option, which again the separatist fighters have refused. Because there have been a lot of back talk. Let me use that word. A lot of talks have been going on in the background, which is also published online on social media. The second, the middle option, which is to come back to the federal state that started in 1961, the freedom fighters don't want it again.
Let's go to the news stands now, and we're taking a look at what the newspapers reported this week. This is the press review. The Herald Tribune reports that ahead of the 2025 presidential election, critics have outlined 100 reasons President Paul Biya should step aside after more than 4 decades in power. Contrary to this opinion, The Sun highlights the endorsement of President Paul Biya's candidacy by 4 state universities, the universities of Bamenda, Yaoundé 2, Chang and Douala. As reported by the Pilot, presidential aspirant Barrister Kerimuna wants only 5 years to put the nation back on the right track, organize elections, and hand over power. The Horizon tells its readers that one of the things Barrister Kerimuna says he will do if elected president is to restore the voice of Cameroon in the African Union. The Guardian Post says the Cameroon Party for National Reconciliation has chosen Honorable Cabral Libi as its flag bearer in the forthcoming presidential race. According to the Guardian Post, former South African President Thabo Mbeki strikes President Paul Biya over the Anglophone crisis, saying he has not been keen to the mediation proposal of the Forum of Former African Heads of State to help solve the crisis. In the same vein, The Voice exclaims, later on Anglophone marginalization. Had Biya listened to Christian, the publisher editor-in-chief of the daily newspaper, wrote to the head of state in 2013, informing him that the marginalization of Cameroonians from the northwest and southwest regions was threatening national unity. On the front page of the Post, Social Democratic Front, SDF, braves insecurity and fed 35th anniversary in former chairman late Fundi's village in the crisis-stricken northwest region of Cameroon. The Guardian Post, construction of Olembe Sports Complex, Paris caught on the government's throat over 15 billion francs CFA owed the construction company McGill. The Median talks about misplaced priority, Kribi Deep Sea Port, a wasteful investment indeed. Observers say the lack of good roads or a rail line linking Kribi to major cities in the country has negatively impacted the functioning of the multi-billion franc CFA seaport, which is now somewhat of a sleeping giant. Cameroon Insider, presidential support eases 2025 Hajj, and the Guardian Post tries to understand the Biya regime's obsession with Muslim pilgrims. Cameroon Tribune says that the Prime Minister, Chief Dr. Joseph Dengute, has given directives for the improvement of aid to private media organs in the country. Another issue of Cameroon Tribune projects the enhancement of economic cooperation ties between Cameroon and Germany. We are still with our guest MOSOKE Lucas LYONGA joining us from the Southwest Regional Capital, Buea. So, what should the United Nations, for example, do? A repeat of the 1961 referendum, maybe with the third option included?
No, that is not the way out. You know, when an error has been made, it can be corrected. You now see in the current context in which we find ourselves, this more than 60 years. So what could be the best way forward? They will devise a better way forward that will solve this conflict and bring it to an end. They might not use the way of taking it back to where do you want to whatsoever. No, when they sit down and discuss this issue, they'll bring it to an end and they'll use the best method. And if the former British Cameroonians are insisting of having their own state, it's possible for the United Nations to make that happen. But would that be the best option in the world in which we live today? They can also study the federal system. Which type of federal system could be given that can bring this problem to an end? It's also possible to have a federal system which is autonomous federal system where former British Cameroon have back all their structures that they had, their prime minister and whatsoever they had, House of Chiefs and the rest. It comes back in place, and you have two independent bodies or two independent entities governing themselves differently. But now they have that let's use the federal government now that oversees the general issues. So there are many ways to solve this conflict, but they have to put it on the table, and the parties concerned will have to look into the options, look at what has been placed on the table. Is it possible for us to now take this federal system that has been put on the table? How is it? How does it favor us? How does it disfavor us? Or must we only go our separate ways, if that is the way out to bring solution to a conflict? It has happened in Eritrea went her way. It has happened, South Sudan went her way. So it's not something which has not happened. It has happened. So the former British Southern Cameroon is not the first entity that has said that they wish to go their way. So it's not a taboo. It's something that has taken place elsewhere. Yes. So that's why I'm saying that the best option will be looked upon on the table. And they now advise accordingly that this is what transpired, but we think that this option can be better. The two sides now evaluate the options on the table and see which one is the best. Because you don't need to go and make a referendum whatsoever again, whatsoever, and say that, do you wish to know? The state in which things are now, you can say, okay, you go your way. The way things are now, say, okay, this is a new federal system that has been formed for your particular case. We think that this type of federal system, which gives you pure autonomy, complete autonomy. You have your own system, you have your own prime minister, you have your own and the rest, and you continue to do your things the way you have your own budget and the rest. You do your things. Other side also have their own things. They do their things. Then you now have that federal structure that may have minimal power, so that it should not overshadow. Given the fact that there is also this side is a minority, so it already has a defect of being a minority. So all those things have to be taken into consideration. How is the minority problem solved in the federation? All those things have to be taken into consideration. They now look at how to implement such a federation, if that is what will be accepted. If not, the other option which the freedom fighters are fighting for might also be given as, okay, if people don't want to stay together, go your way, and so on. So all these options are there, and these are things that should be debated upon. We are living in a world of realities. Why should we be jumping and escaping from the realities? So I think that this conflict should be a priority to the government of Cameroon, should be a priority to the government of France and the UK and to the United Nations. Many people have died. Many people have lost their life. Many villages have been destroyed. Many lives have been destroyed. Many people have lost their families. Many people have left their homes. Many people are today migrants. Many people are today IDPs, internally displaced persons, and so on. So the conflict has had a negative impact of the lives of many families in Cameroon. Many people have lost their parents, lost their children, lost their properties. So it's no longer time for us to sit down and pretend in hypocrisy. It's time to call a spade a spade. And the spade here is that this conflict should be brought to an end. And the four parties I've mentioned have to be involved, including the freedom fighters, the government of Cameroon, France, the UK, and the United Nations. They have a hand in what is happening in Cameroon. And God, the Almighty God, is looking at them and will judge them if they don't act accordingly to save the lives of Cameroonians, and especially the lives of the people of former British Southern Cameroons, who willfully, from a gentleman point of view, came to be together with their brothers. And today, they are being treated as second-class citizens in their own country. They have been relegated. And they are crying out that we are not being treated according to the agreement that brought us together. So it's legitimate. We wish that we should have a level platform where we can all operate at the same level. Then should you call such a person that he does not have a point? He might have not used the best strategy, but at least the message is legitimate, is clean, is pure, and is founded. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time and the insights you've shared with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm happy once more to be at Equinoxe. Thank you so much.
Earlier this week, I had a conversation with Honorable Senator ENWE Francis, member of Cameroon's Upper House of Parliament, in a studio in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, on the state of the nation and the political temperature ahead of the presidential election that should be coming up by October this year. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. We are analyzing some key issues concerning the two predominantly English-speaking Northwest and Southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon, hit by socio-political and security tensions for close to a decade now. We are looking at the current situation on ground in the light of the recent celebration of the National Unity Day on May 20, 2025, and our guest is Honorable Senator ENWE Francis, member of Cameroon's Upper House of Parliament from the Momo Division, Northwest region of Cameroon. Mr. Senator, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Mr. Babila. It's my pleasure being here this morning, and I'm happy to be part of your program.
Let's begin from the Momo Division, and maybe from Widikum precisely, where you come from. What is the situation there?
Well, the situation in Widikum, I'll say, is in fact there's calm. There's peace in Widikum as we speak. And the people have all embraced peace and have all worked together for the peace that we are now enjoying in Widikum to, as you subdivision. And with that, I think I start by thanking the administration of Widikum. I think the divisional officer, when posted to Widikum, I'm sure that guy came with the Bible in his hand. And of recent, after our visits and meetings with the forces of law and order, they have almost become pastors in Widikum subdivision. The way they operate, the way they communicate with the population has drastically changed from what it used to be before. As such, the population is very open to them, and no information is hidden anywhere in the subdivision.
Is that what obtains across the Momo Division and by extension the Northwest region?
Well, I think it's the same thing, because, you know, generally, when this thing started in 2016, people never knew the magnitude, they never knew where it was going, though some of us foresaw it. But with time and the mayhem that the population has gone through with kidnappings, killings, burning of properties, destruction of road infrastructure, burning of schools, everything, not to talk about the kidnapping for ransom and the torture that the people of the Northwest and Southwest have been going through over these years. It is but normal that the people return and say, enough is enough. We are no more for this, and we want peace to return in our backyards. So the people of Northwest, the people of Southwest have taken that same initiative, which I know the politicians are all involved, the elite are all involved, the youths are all involved, and I'm very optimistic. Total peace will return within a very short time.
Well, Senator, what you call peace is what other actors on the ground, civil society leaders and even political leaders refer to as an uneasy calm characterized by fear and uncertainty.
Yeah, uncertainty is true, because, you know, the way some of these guys operate, we may feel that there's peace, and you just hear one morning something happens. It's like that in such conflicts. You know, this is a protracted conflict that, despite the many attempts to solve it by His Excellency President Paul Biya, by the people of this country, it is still continuing. And as such, I think every locality, every community should devise a way of having peace within them, because most of those terrorizing the populations are children from those areas. You know their parents, you know their relations, you know their compound, and I think it's time to say no, it's no.
So are you shifting the responsibility of the government to the communities?
I think government has done quite a lot, and like that's what I said, it's a
because
protracted.
the responsibility of the government to ensure peace,
and I
stability,
think government
security,
Government is doing that, and that is why you see the forces of law and order, which were not in play in some areas before 2016, are all there now. You know, they're dotted all over. It was not like that in 2016 because there was peace. Places, things were calm. There was no problem. But because of this, government has to put in measures to see how it can handle it. I think that's what government is doing, by putting the forces of law and order everywhere to make sure people and their properties are protected.
If you've been following the press, you must have seen a lot of talking about a letter that the publisher and editor-in-chief of the Guardian Post newspaper, Christian wrote to the President of the Republic in 2013, alerting him that the marginalization of Anglophones was a threat and still remains a threat to national unity. And 3 years after the crisis erupted, and he said in that letter, with regards to what you were just saying now, that the military option and decentralization have failed to solve the problem.
No, you know, many people have been talking before the crisis in 2016. Even us, I think we spoke many times as members of parliament, the National Assembly, when I was then at the National Assembly. We, you know, called the attention on government on a few things. And, you know, when we did that, we too never knew something was coming to happen just a few years after. Politicians have been expressing, civil society have been expressing their worries with this aspect of marginalization of the Anglophones and so on. And that's why you can go as far back as talk of the
CNC.
No, the NCNC and the
SCAPO and the others.
All those structures, and the Anglophone conference that took place for many years, I think 1994, all talking about the marginalization of the Anglophones and way forward. So it's not something new to the head of state, President Paul Biya. He knows it, and I think had to take appropriate measures. But when this conflict started with the hidden agenda that nobody knew, it has to take also government unaware, because we never expected people to start importing guns into the country. We never expected our youths to jump up and start acting the way they're acting, and now have turned to be kidnapping their own relations, killing their own relations, killing people left and right. I think
but about
government
the deployment,
place.
about the deployment of soldiers on the ground, about the deployment of soldiers on the ground and the decentralization that the government is standing for, the CPD and your party is standing for. Christian says it has failed. That the military option, decentralization, have failed to solve the problem.
Listen, decentralization, I know we voted the code on decentralization in 2019 at the National Assembly. I was there. I took part in that. And those were as a result of the deliberations of the major national dialogue coming as part of the solution. And you saw that immediately it was respected with the creation of the regional assemblies and giving the special status to the Northwest and Southwest. Though many will say the special status is like giving somebody a basket to go and carry water. But to me, I always say, yeah, if they give you a basket to go and carry water, you devise a means for water to go into that basket. Put a plastic in a basket and carry water, and you go through with that. So it's the newborn baby that must start by creeping, then start moving the first few steps, and then walk. People should not just imagine magic to happen like that with this aspect of decentralization. And now that we have studied it for a couple of years, any lapses that are there, the President of the Republic will definitely send them back to the National Assembly, to Parliament, for us to relook into some of the lapses. You know, there are many laws that have come, we voted. After some years, they send them back again to adjust a few articles. That is what will definitely happen with time. So people should not just feel that magic will happen with all those things. Yes, military, for the military action, I say, is not the solution. It's not the solution. Every community to look for a way to solve the problem within them. There are some of these problems that, okay, imagine in your quarter, There are people terrorizing and beating grandmothers and harassing them, collecting money left and right, blocking them from going to the market, blocking them from going even to the hospital.
To their farms and so on.
To their farms and so on. What do we do? Those of that community should devise a means to stop that. You may have just about 5 boys doing all of this nonsense. Something should be done by the community, while waiting for the major things to be handled by the government. The government cannot be in every backyard to bring peace. Now they have decided they move but in the night, knock doors and kidnap people from their houses. What do you think government should do in that direction? The community should take some responsibilities.
Now, on May 20, 2025, we saw images streaming into our newsroom from different parts of the two region, and even from Widikum, where you come from, images of young persons, old persons, mothers, fathers, and even children who came out to take part in the May 20 National Day celebration. Give us an understanding of that mobilization, even though it was not really massive as compared to previous years, that is before 2016, before the crisis, the whole situation started. Give us an understanding of this mobilization. How did you go about that?
No, I think that's an indication that peace has actually returned to Widikum subdivision. And, you know, this mobilization, like I said, everybody was tired with the violence that has been taking place. They have suffered enough. And the people of Widikum have said, enough is enough. If they see any of those guys, they identify, they report. They call the forces of law and order, or the youths themselves chase them away. And for this mobilization, the administration is with us. The forces of law and order were part of it, making people feel very comfortable to come and move freely around the subdivisional headquarters. Also, we the politicians, the elite, within and out of the subdivision, put all our energies together to mobilize and encourage our people to come out and celebrate the National Day as they used to do before 2016. And you could see the population that came out. Traditional dances came out, women groups came out, all marching along with the effigy of President Paul Biya and giving him their support and extending him best wishes. And I think you will talk also about the fans club, which is my fans club.
I'm coming to that.
Yeah.
But before that, Senator, in other parts of the country, probably not in Widikum, we saw officials of the CPDM of your party giving some banknotes, 2,000 francs CFA and so on, and some sardine and bread to the people who came to take part in the National Day celebration. Did the people come out because they are tired, because they actually wanted to celebrate, because they identify with that day, or because of some few banknotes, sardine and bread?
Listen, all the parties do same. When you gather people, it's our tradition. When you gather people to come out for something, it is but normal to give them water. And if the crowd is so much that you think you cannot gather them and give them food somewhere, why not? If you have the banknotes, why not give them to go and buy something and eat? After marching for long under the sun, you know, spending a whole day like that. Other parties do the same, but they don't want to talk about it. Let me tell you, it's politics. Many people don't go out for free. Everybody has an interest, and politics is interest. So if somebody comes and see they are giving 2,000 francs to somebody because it's CPDM in CPDM uniform, you pick the picture and send on social media and say that's what CPDM is doing. Everybody is doing it, my friend. I am a politician. That is my field. I know what is happening with all the parties. Some will give it under the table, but if CPDM gives it on top of the table, it becomes a problem. To me, that is no event. That I don't even take that as anything. The people came out because they want to support their party. They want to support the leader of their party. And that was it.
But we know that even in the days of Jesus Christ, a lot of people followed him because of bread and whatever they wanted from him. And does it actually reflect the aspirations of the people, the perception of the people about this whole thing, the mobilization that we saw? Because there are also allegations of people being imported from elsewhere to different places in those two regions to parade on that day to give an impression that everything is okay. What do you know about this?
Well, I don't know what you're saying. I think for what happened in Widikum, all you saw marching in Widikum, and there are thousands, are indigenous of Widikum. They are based there. And they came in from the far-off suburbs to celebrate the 20th May as they have been doing before, 2016. So, importing people, I don't know about that. And if they have been doing that in other places, well, it's militants. If you import militants, what is the problem? Even if you import militants to go and vote, what is the problem? In politics is masses.
Is it not deception?
Yeah. Why deception? Okay, if I'm in Yaoundé with my family and my children have already
started... It is considered as deception, giving the impression that these are people from this area who are parading, who are taking part in the May 20 National Day, whereas there are people from other places, even from other regions.
I don't know that. I am not aware of that. Let me tell you, my whole family has registered. Many of my relations, our elites here have registered back home. When it will be time for election and all of them are rushing to go and vote back in the village, they said they have imported people to come and vote. No, they are indigenous of that area who want to portray the good image of their area by supporting the party they want.
Right, we saw some people carrying the pictures of the President of the Republic that we have been seeing all over the years everywhere, but there were others who were carrying your pictures, brandishing your pictures behind that of or those of the President of the Republic. Who were those people and why were they brandishing your pictures?
Well, I have a well-structured fans club as a politician. When I was member of parliament, I think I was the only person in this country, politician, that I know, had what we call a fans club, well-constituted, in branches. And to be a member of my fans club is not just for free because they'll give you a free t-shirt or maybe you drink a beer after that. You have to register in your branch with 1,000 francs. When you register with 1,000 francs, when it's the time for any ceremony and I have to bring t-shirts to distribute to my fans club, if there are 2,000 of them, and I have to send to a branch that has 500, I'll send you 500 t-shirts. A branch that has registered 200, I send you. Those that have registered 50, I send the t-shirts. All those t-shirts, we sell them at 1,000 to the members, to registered members. That's what they will use for the celebration. And you see them, they pay for it. That's my fans club. That is the way we operate. It had a break when I left as a member of the National Assembly and had a 3 years break. Coming back as a senator now, they just popped up again. Say your fans club, everything is okay. And you saw what happened in Widikum with close to 1,000 people marching with my effigies as well. But you could see that it started with the effigy of the head of state, President Paul Biya. And you even saw there, Honorable Senator ENWE's fans club for Paul Biya. And all of them followed. So if they were carrying my effigies left and right, that is how we have always been doing. It's our culture. That's the way the politics of Widikum is. And we are comfortable with that.
Do they believe in you? Do they believe in the President of the Republic?
If they didn't believe, you would not see that crowd marching at this period in Widikum.
Some will tell you that they came to have something to eat.
Not really that. Many left without even eating, since they had to go back to their far-off villages and so on. They few that even had to share drinks among themselves. One good thing is the Widikum man is always very sharing. I mean, our hands are loose. When you see 10 of them sit somewhere, somebody just say, please bring us a crate. Those are farmers. They have money. And you see all of them drinking and sharing. Somebody will say, put 5. And you end up seeing a table with about 3, 4, 5 crates from within themselves.
So what about the risk that goes with that? Parading with the CPDM uniform and so on, and then from the ceremonial ground, they have to move to their homes. Have some of them not faced some kind of repression from those who...
Now, our people are ready for any repression. The youth in all the villages are set, and they give information of any activity that is to bring violence in the place. They will call, even if it's midnight, who they have to, and pass the information that these guys are here, this is what they are doing, and you will see immediate action. So, we hear some will come from out of Widikum to go and create a situation somewhere in Widikum and let them say Widikum is like this. Well, that's their own, they're on their own mission. But I want to say the people of Widikum are ready. If you pass there and you are one of them, they identify you, be sure something will happen to you.
Now, how have you succeeded to get to this point? How have you managed to, because this goes with change of mindset, this goes with a change of perception, this goes with a change in the way the people are seeing things. If I go by what you're saying, that they believe in you, they believe in the President of the Republic, and they're against the separatists, secessionists, or whatever, how did you manage to convince these people? And you have been very popular on the ground in your area, in Widikum, in Momo Division, and you seem to be going about hitch-free with no problem.
Well, you know, to change the mentality of a people, first of all, they must believe in you. And I think the people of Widikum believe in me. There are many times I don't go down, but I come and see me, communicate with them on a daily basis. And that's why you saw the first time I went to Widikum after 7 years, last year, for my, we call it my homecoming. You saw I came back with 7 of those boys. I removed 7, brought them to Bamenda and handed to the services of the governor, who counseled them and handed them to the disarmament and demobilization center. They are all there now. Those were guys that, when we left Widikum, the people believed that there's peace, because those were the ones creating all the havoc in the area. We had removed many quietly, but those ones came officially during the ceremony that I had in Widikum, because after our negotiations and discussions for a long time to convince them to come out, they only assured me they will come out if I am in Widikum, because they are afraid to go to, because of what they have done. They are afraid to just come and go to the divisional officer or to the brigade to report themselves. Something will happen to them. And I told them, I will be coming down. Prepare yourself. When I come down, I'll be there to take you safely out of the place. And that's just what we did. And from that day, Widikum is peaceful till today. And that's why you could see celebrations on 20th May. You could see people carry the effigy of the head of state. They wear t-shirts on bikes and go far off and so on with no fear. I think that's how it should be.
Now we're looking at the bigger picture, that is the 2 regions, having this across the board, from northwest to southwest, having a peaceful atmosphere. The regions that we had before late 2016, how to get there, because the situation remains quite volatile as we speak now in those 2 regions.
Yeah, it's still really volatile, as you say, but like I said, it's not a military solution. Every community should devise a means to manage that situation. And if you go and see in some villages where they even arrest those boys, and you see videos, I've seen you people show many on your television channel, what is happening in many villages, how they arrest them and hand them over and all of that. The population even kills them. Population must take the control of their area. And in a city like Bamenda, you know, just 5 people can bring disorder in a town in a whole day. If they get up and shoot from this end, shoot from this end and do this, everybody will stay at home. But why? To prove what? Anybody still carrying guns and moving around to disturb the population after 8 years? No. He has decided his fate. Those who came in by mistake have all left, reported themselves, go to some communities, they are living freely. Many have gotten married. They have started a good life. They are going to their farms. They are doing their things. They are riding their bikes peacefully. But if anybody is still there till now, then it actually means disorder. And let me tell you, I talk to many of these boys. Because if you have a problem, you don't talk to your friends. You talk to your enemies. People even call me and give me numbers of some. Talk to this guy. And I bet you, if I talk to 10 of them, I'll pull out 3. All is communication. How do you? Some, when you start, they are very aggressive. You stay 2 days after you continue. Yeah. You see, they gradually change. And very soon you start responding. Soon you start seeing him calling you. And that's how it goes.
Now, everything is communication, as you said. And
yes,
you've been communicating and getting some results. at your level of Widikum and the Momo division.
Even out of the region.
Out of the region. Now, why would the President of the Republic not use that your strategy? People have been calling on him to do that. The Archbishop of Bamenda, President of the National Episcopal Conference, late Christian Cardinal Tumi did, late John Frundi did, and people are still doing. Abobala and all the rest have been doing within and without Cameroon, saying, Mr. President, talk with those who are carrying the guns, talk with the leaders, even those who are in detention, bring them to the table and have a conversation with them. But that has not happened.
Well, the way this problem has gone, the mindset from 2016, 17, 18 is different today. And to be candid, let me tell you, to the many boys I've been talking to, I've hardly heard somebody talk about what people were talking 2020 and so on, about separation. They don't talk about that. Somebody's telling you they burned my bike, this happened, you know, I ran to the bush, I've not been having a way to survive, I decided to join the boys, or the boys came and forced me to join them. Nobody is telling you that what he's carrying the guns is for separation. All what they're just doing now is banditry. Even if you do what type of negotiation, like I said, it's a protracted conflict where all attempts of bringing solutions have not worked to some people. Many who understand the solutions that were coming and embrace them, you see them also change. Anybody still insisting and talking separation, now I can't tell a lie. I have nothing to discuss with you. We want peace. We have tested this order, we have seen it, we have felt it, and nobody is ready for that to happen again.
But that seems to be where there's the problem. Refusing to talk to those who want secession, refusing to talk about secession, refusing to talk about the problem that from where the banditry that you're talking about generated.
So even if you...
Which remains the core.
Okay, let me tell you, when the other people were locked up, just an aside, people said, oh, they should release them, release. Things will be normal. People will go to school, everything will be calm and so on. I think the head of state yielded to that. Before the national dialogue, he released Abobala and many other, over 300 people, as I think so, if I've not forgotten the number. He released all of them. Did anything change?
Others are still in detention. This is Wayotabe, Mancho, BBC, Penterens, and all the rest.
So if you're
still in detention.
Well, I think I don't want to talk of what.
And that's where those who are holding that opinion are saying that if all of them were to be set free,
then the kidnapping for ransom will stop.
Possibly, it could be the beginning of the solution.
Kidnapping for ransom will stop. When they will come out, will they be giving money to these guys that they are making millions per day because of kidnapping? Will torture stop on individuals? It has become something that when I have a small problem with you, I call these boys and say, go and do this to this person. That is what has been happening.
Settling.
It's cost settling in the whole place. It has become something that you cannot manage. And that's why I said community solution for now is the best, not military.
All right. Let's say a word about the forthcoming presidential election. There is some tension in the air and everything seems to be kind of bubbling up. About 5 months to the presidential election. What is your take on how this election should be organized in a way that we will not only have credible, transparent, and acceptable results, but peace above all, peace before, during, and after?
Well, there should be peace before, during, and after elections if we are real Cameroonians, if we love our country. It should not be because you are angry that everything should get burnt, all the roads should get blocked because you feel that things must be the way you think. We are all Cameroonians. Elections are elections. You must prepare yourself for elections. What I see many people doing around is child's play to me. I said, I'm a politician. What I see even the opposition doing, I don't see signs of seriousness. People have taken social media and they spend their time on social media. How many people read social media? The masses of this country are in the rural areas. Those are the people that will vote. Those in the city that can be convinced by social media, yeah, will definitely vote and follow whatever person they want. But think of the whole country. It's not only Yaoundé that will vote for the presidential elections, or Douala, or Bafoussam, or the big cities. No, it's the whole country. Let me tell you, the CPDM is ready for the elections. The CPDM is prepared. We spend no day without reflecting on strategies to win, not fraud. I started winning elections in 2007 as an MP at the age of 36 to be a parliamentarian. My people voted for me. But when you turn on social media, you say, people will say there was fraud in Widikum, this and that. Lies. The people voted, counted the votes, and everything went away. For my 2 mandates that I stood for elections in Widikum. So if people are saying other areas that they stop this, it's just a way to, when you are a loser, you must look for a reason to complain. The CPDM will, I don't want to say will definitely win. When you clear your farm, well, you have a good harvest.
With its natural candidate, the President of the Republic, even though he has not yet declared his intention.
Our President has not yet declared, but we are behind him. He is our President. We will keep supporting him.
After 4 decades?
We will keep supporting him.
After 4 decades?
Even 5 decades, we'll keep supporting our President until he decides otherwise. That is it. So do you think that it should be us of the CPDM
some are saying that you're
challenging our President?
Some are saying that you're doing a disservice to a man of above 90 who should normally go and rest.
He's an experienced politician. He knows when to take certain decisions, and he will decide. It's not us of the militants that are supposed to, back him up all the time, start condemning him. No. I support my President even in the next 5 decades until he decides otherwise. And we'll still respect the decision of our party. So, I don't think that is any problem.
All right. We're going to wrap it here for this edition of the program. Thank you so much for staying with us today. Thank you for the insights you've shared with us. Thank you, Mr. Senator. Thank you for coming.
Well, before that, I think I just wish to appeal to the Cameroonian people. Those who have not been to the Northwest and Southwest within these past 8 years can be making noise in these other cities that there will be some violence, there will be this, before or during or after the presidential elections. Watch out. If there will be violence, it will meet you at your own doorstep. So please, we should all preach peace. We should all caution our political leaders not to preach threats, not to send out threats and warning people. Let them prepare their electorate, go out for free and fair elections, and accept the decision that will come. Peace is what we need in Cameroon.
Now I also talked to Professor Elvis Ngole, political scientist and coordinator of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement CPDM Academy, on the issue of the tension in the political landscape in the country, notably in connection to the legitimacy or not of the candidacy of the president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, CRM political party, Professor Maurice Kamto. This is what he said.
Elections are one of the most important and defining moments in the life of a republic in determining who governs and how they are governed. And for elections to take place, elections are covered by the Constitution, and elections are covered by the law. So for any election in a republic, there are only 2 standards or 2 references that are the most important and that are legal. One is the Constitution, and the second is the Electoral Code. Every other thing can be judgmental or subjective. It is we, the 30 million Cameroonians, who determine who governs us and how we are governed according to how consistent with the Constitution and the Electoral Code. In 2025, there are about 370 political parties that exist in Cameroon, talking, competing freely. They are legal and they are legitimate. But of these 370 political parties that exist in Cameroon, there are only 18 that according to the Constitution and according to the Electoral Code, have the right to present candidates in a presidential election, consistent with the Electoral Code.
The tension that we are observing now in the political landscape in the country is connected to the candidacy of candidacy of Professor Maurice Kamto, and among the parties which you mentioned, the list which you mentioned earlier, the CRM is not there, but the CRM is claiming that they have the legitimacy and the legality to present a candidate based on the fact that some elected officials cross the carpet from another political party to their own party. And the law says that for a party to present a candidate, it should have representatives at the level of the National Assembly, the regional councils, or the municipalities. And now the CRM is saying we have elected officials, so we have the legality and the legitimacy to present a candidate. But it seems to be provoking a lot of controversies and debate.
That is the interpretation of the law, our constitution, according to the CRM party. But there is a lot of unnecessary excitement. There is a lot of unnecessary falsehood. There are lots of unnecessary claims. There are a lot of distortions of facts. And there are a lot of insults being thrown here and there. And this atmosphere adds to the anxiety, and I think adds to the confusion, and I think makes a mockery of the legitimacy, the integrity, the dignity of something good, which we call election. From what I know, as a political scientist, and from the political science point of view, the mandate of a parliamentarian or of a councillor in a local council or a regional councillor, it's not a mandate up for sale, as if mandates are objects, or like you don't prostitute with mandates. What you just stated, that somebody is elected under the laws and under the Constitution as an elected official of one party, and because of your the convenience that you can give your mandate to some other candidate because that some other candidate has no other choice, you think that the law is there for you and therefore you can give your mandate to someone else. This is what you're saying. That claim is, I think, from a political science point of view. I don't want to say from a legal point of view because I don't want to take the place of lawyers. From a political science point of view, I think it is a distortion of the Constitution. I think it is a deformation or a distortion of the Electoral Code. That means that those who did not take part in the 2020 twin elections, municipal and legislative, it means they don't have elected officials.
All right, Prof.
And therefore that means that they can become candidates if they have the ambition by opting for independent candidacies. Because the law, the Electoral Code provides for that. I think the Constitution also. So that, but they should not fake their way. They should not use a crooked way. They should not use distortions and deformation. Because if you do that, you create unnecessary tensions, you create unnecessary illusions, and you make people believe in what is not right.
As a political scientist that you are, maybe taking off the cap
as a militant.
As a militant,
Very good.
As a political scientist that you are,
Yes.
reading the situation of the country,
Yes.
reading the how the country is moved for the past 4 decades and so on. Do you really think that President Paul Biya should continue if he shows up or if he presents his candidacy?
As I told you, it's obvious, but you might say, oh, because you're a militant of the CPDM, but it's more than just being a militant of the CPDM. You will agree with me. Consistent with the Constitution of Cameroon and the Electoral Code of Cameroon, you would agree with me that President Biya has every right, it is in his right, to be a candidate of his party. And if you add to that the Constitution of the CPDM, or what we call the basic text, the statutes of the CPDM, if you add to that, to the Constitution and to the Electoral Code, President Biya is the undisputed statutory, and if I want to use the word, because our militants use the word natural.
Though Leon Taylor, a council of the party, Monatele, says that all of that is not true because
the case of
even though Article 27 sub 3 of the Constitution of the CPDM gives him the right to stand as candidate, but
yes,
the Congress and change that's supposed to happen at the helm of the party has not happened.
In my capacity as the head of the academy of the CPDM party, meaning that in my capacity as an academician for the party, I'll tell you this. Leon Onana is wrong as a militant of the party. In fact, his position, his action is tantamount to indiscipline by virtue of the party text.
In the meantime, legal experts, constitutional law experts have been saying that the candidacy of Professor Maurice Kamto has legal backing in the Constitution and the Electoral Code of Cameroon. Let's have greater details in this special story compared for me, Armstrong Sander.
The debate surrounding Maurice Kamto's presidential candidacy bid has sparked intense discussions across Cameroon, with some questioning the legitimacy of his run due to the origin of his party's elected officials. In page 123 of his book titled Le Choix de l'Action, Marafa Amidou, Cameroon's former Minister of Territorial Administration, underscores the fact that elected officials serve the public interest, not just their parties.
Municipal magistrates and deputies become public officials bound only by the laws of the Republic. The imperative mandate is null and void, allowing elected officials to remain faithful to their conscience and personal convictions. Marafa Amidou Yaya, Le Choix de l'Action.
Furthermore, Professor Maurice Kamto and James Mwange Kobila, experts in public law and human rights, respectively, have argued that the fact that a candidate was elected in the list of one party rather than another is not entirely irrelevant. On the contrary, it is the ultimate expression of the sovereign's trust in a particular political formation to conduct given policies. Lex Lata number 32 of November 1996. This perspective highlights the importance of respecting the will of the people and the Constitution. The principle of the constitutional supremacy is also emphasized by Kamto and Kobila, who notes that one must conduct oneself in a manner prescribed by the Constitution.
It remains that the ordinary legislative jurisdictions and administration draw the necessary consequence, which is to render contrary legal provisions null and void. For the fundamental rule formulated by Kelsen cannot be denied. One must conduct oneself in a manner prescribed by the Constitution.
In the light of these expert opinions and constitutional provisions, proponents say that it is clear that Maurice Kamto's presidential bid is legitimate and grounded on the law. The CRM party leader's candidacy is a reflection of the people's trust in the party's policies his party officials hold. These proponents insist that any attempts to disqualify him on the basis of his party's origins would be unconstitutional and contrary to the principles of democratic governance. A recent media serial in Cameroon has sparked intense debate about the concept of imperative mandate in the constitutional law. The debate centers around the role of elected representatives and the extent of their accountability to the electorate. According to Professor Abba Oyono, the Constitution of Cameroon is clear on the matter. Article 2 sub 1 states that national sovereignty belongs to the people, and Article 15 sub 2 says that each deputy represents the entire nation. These provisions suggest that the Constitution has instituted a representative mandate where elected representatives have a duty to act in the best interest of the nation. Professor Abba Oyono argues that there is no legal barrier to prevent Professor Maurice Kamto from participating in the presidential election. He cites the principle of nemo dito, which states that no one can take advantage of their wrongdoing In this case, the authorities cannot use their own errors or fault to disqualify Professor Maurice Kamto. As the debate intensifies in Cameroon, some have argued that Article 121 of the Electoral Code, which requires a political party to have representation in the National Assembly to present a candidate for the presidential election, bars Professor Maurice Kamto from participating. However, Professor Abayono contends that the provision is unconstitutional and cannot be used to block Professor Maurice Kamto's candidacy. Observers, however, say that based on the constitutional provisions and the legal principles cited by Professor Abayono, it appears that Professor Maurice Kamto has a strong case for participating in the upcoming presidential election in Cameroon. They say authorities would then need basis for disqualifying him, which according to Professor Abayono is clearly lacking in this case.
And that's it for today's edition of The Insight. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Thank you so much. You can follow us on our social media handles on Facebook and on YouTube. You can also follow the rebroadcast of the program on Friday at 5 p.m. God bless Cameroon. Goodbye.